What's good, homies? We are live from sunny South Central Los Angeles, California. I'm Mark, and I am awareness in the service of love. I've been addicted to drugs my entire life, my entire adult life. I've been addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, coffee, sugar, cannabis, psychedelics, all those in some combination or another my entire adult life, ever since I left for college, ever since I went away from home. In college, I was a binge drinker. I was in a fraternity, I was a frat guy. Everyone I knew was a binge drinker in college, even people that weren't in fraternities and sororities. Our fraternity house had 100 boys living in the house with another 20 to 40 living in various houses off campus. I was heavily drinking alcohol multiple times per week. I drank and blacked out almost always. I blacked out all the time. It was pretty standard. Most of the people I was drinking with were doing the same thing. When I drank, it led to me smoking packs and packs and packs of cigarettes, which is super addictive, which then I just started smoking packs of cigarettes when I was sober. After college, I continued to drink heavily and I continued to smoke cigarettes and I continued to black out. I thought smoking cigarettes was my only addiction. I battled smoking cigarettes for years until I finally gave it up cold turkey. I thought then that I could beat any addiction. I didn't see alcohol as an addiction because alcohol is socially acceptable. It's a socially acceptable drug in our culture. I continued to use alcohol to mood alter my feelings. I remember working a job for a boss that was pretty abusive, and I was drinking a bottle of wine a day or a night just to deal with this boss that I had, which gave me this like nervous eye twitch that I couldn't stop. It was literally just all the time, all the time. And I drank good wine, which became a really expensive habit. I thought of myself as a connoisseur of wine. I didn't really see it as an addiction. I rationalized my dysfunctional behavior. I don't know if I drank to enjoy it or not, but I was definitely drinking to numb my feelings. But at some point, my body couldn't handle it anymore. My hangovers became excruciating. They were so bad. They were so horrible. If I drank 2 days heavily in a row, because for me, drinking was just heavy drinking. There wasn't anything else. If I would drink 2 or 3 days heavily in a row, I'd give myself alcohol poisoning. I mean, there are many times that I've woken up in the middle of the night with just cold sweats, chills, and it's really pretty awful feeling because I knew my next day would just be ruined. So because my hangovers were so bad, I switched one addiction to the other. About 3 years ago, I switched from alcohol to cannabis. Cannabis was, for me, for many people, maybe a healthier addiction. It was definitely better for my body. Stoners are going to say that cannabis isn't addictive. And they probably mean physically addictive because there aren't that much or that many physical withdrawals from it. Withdrawals from it. But it's addictive because it mood alters. Cannabis doesn't allow me to sit with my feelings. It doesn't allow me to process my feelings in a healthy manner. We stoners think that we are increasing the quality of our consciousness because, honestly, it does open us up. It opens us up to higher states of consciousness. But I'm going to tell you that it's a very limited, very limited way of opening you up. It's a very limited manner to access these higher states of consciousness, to access these higher states of awareness. So I continued to mood alter with cannabis. Then I also added MDMA, LSD, shrooms. And in doing so, I began to reach even higher states of consciousness using those drugs. And all of a sudden I was getting, these really incredible downloads from the universe. I was learning so much in these altered states. I was beginning to experience feeling my feelings, maybe for the first time in a really long time, but I was only feeling my feelings in a very limited way. The problem for me was that I could never quite remember exactly what those downloads were all about, or how to feel my feelings again, or how to feel my feelings without being high. It was always like a dream. I'd have the intent to remember how to do all these things, but it was like trying to catch smoke in a butterfly net. So I began to write my experiences down while I was in these altered states. And I would read my notes the next day, and they wouldn't make any sense to me, or very limited sense, because I wouldn't have the context of why I was writing this information down. Users of psychedelics are going to say that they aren't addictive either. And again, I think people are focusing on the physical addiction because there aren't physical withdrawals, but they are definitely spiritually addictive, and they're definitely psychologically addictive. I thought these getting high on psychedelics were the only ways that I could access these higher states of awareness, the only way I could access higher states of consciousness. But that's not true. I know these things are addictive because while they may open you up a little bit, you're constantly chasing the dragon. You're constantly need more and more and more and more to get you to that same place where you were, just a couple days ago. I mean, I was smoking, 5, 6, 7 joints a day, sometimes, just so I could get to that point of spiritual awareness where I wouldn't judge myself, where I was accessing these higher states of awareness, these higher states of consciousness. Your tolerance goes up, and you're still chasing the dragon to try to get you to that same place. Same thing with, alcohol for people. Same thing with any drug. It was only through meditation that I began to understand the why. I understood why I was addicted to drugs. And again, I'm going to include drugs as alcohol, nicotine, sugar, caffeine, cannabis, psychedelics, whatever. These are all drugs. What I began to realize was that I wasn't able to feel my feelings. I'd intellectualized this process my entire life. I didn't really know what it meant to feel your feelings. For example, I thought I knew what happiness was, but I've never felt happiness, or I had never felt happiness. I just thought I had felt happiness, and that's a huge distinction, huge difference. It was only through meditation that I began to realize that my internal dialogue, everything in my head was all negative. It was negative self-talk. Only through meditation was I able to create that space that I became the observer of my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. Always blows my mind. What I realized was that I continuously judge myself all of the time. In every single matter of my life, there is negative judgment from myself. And using drugs to mood alter, what I realized was I needed relief from myself. That I was my own jailer, you know. And then I started using drugs to get high, and I would stop because my internal dialogue would say that, using drugs is bad and not responsible, and that I could reach these higher states of consciousness on my own. And I'd stop using, I'd stop using for a minute, and that constant judgment, that constantly judging myself for not being at some level of perfection that I didn't even know what that level of perfection was. Nobody knows what that level of perfection was. Perfection is not the goal. Being authentic is the goal. So I continuously judge myself for not being at this abstract level of perfection, which drove me to use more drugs, because I would eventually beat myself up enough that I would need relief from myself. And I'd find relief for myself, and I'd feel good. I'd feel good for a minute, for a day, for an hour, couple days. Maybe I would get high for a couple days in a row, feel good for a couple days. And then that internal dialogue would start all over again. I couldn't be high all the time. I couldn't hide from myself all of the time. So I'd find relief, then I would stop, then I would beat myself up for not being at this level of perfection, and I would start using again. I would start getting high again, and this vicious circle would continue over and over and over. I'd trapped myself. I was stuck in a squirrel cage that I had created for myself. I'd really become my own jailer. But luckily, I had the key to let myself out if I would just realize it, if I would just stop. And what I realized was that I had to sit with my feelings, that it was okay to feel my feelings all the way through. And that's how healthy people process that negative self-talk. I was never taught, like, this is how you do it. I had no clue. By not processing, this negative self-talk, by being judgmental, by not feeling my feelings, I was trapped. There was no way out except one. And the only way out is through. And what I've also realized is that drugs are not the problem. I repeat, drugs are not the problem. Drugs are a symptom of the problem. Drugs are a symptom of the feelings of toxic shame that I felt about myself. Toxic shame is the problem. In dealing with my toxic shame, I've been able to kick all of my addictions. I no longer need drugs to mood alter my feelings. They come and they go, and I'm so much better, healthier, and happier because of that. If you find this message and need help, message me. If you feel like your life has become unmanageable and you too are stuck in this vicious cycle, message me. Hit me up. I'm a life scientist. I've been changing variables and testing them on myself. For these last 2 years, I've spent uncounted hours, days working on myself. And I've figured myself out. And this process has worked for me and for many others. I can help you with your addictions because I can help you with the root of your addictions. I can help you start feeling your feelings. I can help you start processing your toxic shame. I can create a safe space, a non-judgmental space where I can listen and be there for you because I am you. I know what that vicious cycle is like. I know what that constantly judging, negative self-talk is like. I know what that's like, and it's painful. And that's why we use drugs to mood alter, honestly. So if you find this message, I wish you well. I wish you so much love in trying to fight these demons, these battles. They're not easy. It does take some time. But once you get through to the other side, you feel so much better. You feel so much healthier. It's possible. It's possible to recover. It's possible to live a healthy, normal life that you can be proud of. So thank you for letting me share, and thank you for letting me be of service. Later.